July the 11th, grasses. At the beginning of July, before dry weather starts to dry them out, grasses are often at their best, and Londoners are complaining about the high grass pollen count. Traditional meadows, unmanaged meadows, wet meadows, downland, woodland, heath and salt marsh all have their own specialities and are well worth visiting this month. To get to know the different types of grass in the field, it is useful to note characters such as their height, their colour, hairiness, shape of flowerhead or panicle, shape of spikelets, and the presence or absence of awns. Even this may not be enough, and you may need to delve deeper into their anatomy, getting to know more about sheaths, auricles, and the insides of their so-called flowers or spikelets, and even their roots. Foxtails and catstails are among the easiest to recognize due to their dense, often cylindrical, compacted flower heads. The most commonly noticed so far is likely to be the meadow foxtail, Alopocurus pratensis, which came into flower in April and may well be going over by now. Two very common catstails that are likely to be noticed now are Timothy grass, Phleum pratense, and the smaller catstail, Phleum bertolonii. The first is a very attractive grass, said to improve any landscape it grows in. It can reach 1.5 meters in height and have flower heads up to 15 centimeters in length. It is very at home in fertile pasture, where it is often used to make hay. Its green panicles may be slightly pink or white, and at this time of year be covered in lavender-covered anthers. The panicle itself is rounded at both ends, which can help a field identification. Smaller catstail is just like a smaller version of Timothy grass, often less than half its size. The two often grow together. Two rarer foxtails that might be seen in July are the marsh foxtail, Alopocurus geniculatus, and the slender foxtail, or blackgrass, Alopocurus myoceroides. The marsh foxtail is found beside lakes and rivers or in water meadows, where it may even be partially submerged. Its knees, that is, the sharply bent stems, can help to identify it. The slender foxtail prefers much drier places, such as waste areas and roadsides. Its panicles are distinctly tapered at both ends and are often tinged with purple. The bromes are a larger group of grasses that are often more difficult to identify. They are generally recognized by their medium size and loosely branched panicles with more torpedo-shaped spikelets and long awns. A very abundant species on chalk downland is the upright brome, Bromus erectus, whose stems and flower heads all point upwards from dense tufts. Another very common brome, but in woods, is the hairy or wood brome, Bromus ramosus. This has the typically long spikelets, but in this case they hang down elegantly. Its hairy leaves can secure an identification. The brome we see the most of is barren brome, already mentioned earlier in the year, but the soft brome, Bromus mollis, is equally common in areas of waste ground. Its spikelets are held erect like the upright brome, but they are usually distinctly fatter. Its leaves are very hairy and soft to touch. Another brome of disturbed ground is the slender soft brome, Bromus lepidus, which is just like a smaller, more slender version of the soft brome. Meadow brome, Bromus commutatus, is also similar to soft brome, but with longer branches that droop more. Its habitat includes meadows as well as waste areas. Other rarer bromes in London are best looked for in their preferred habitats. The smooth brome, Bromus racemosus, likes water meadows, such as those at Chertsey. The great brome, Bromus dandus, is a much stouter affair with long spikelets and long branches and may possibly still be found on Walton Common. The ornless brome, which has translucent ends to its spikelets, shows a preference for railway embankments. False bromes, Brachypodium species, although very similar to true bromes, tend to hold their spikelets closer to their stems. Two found in London are the wood false brome, Brachypodium sylvaticum, and the chalk false brome, Bromus pinnatum, also called tallgrass. The first is found in woods and has leaves with a strong white central nerve to help identify it, and the second is a grass of chalk downland with spikelets that all tend to point in the same direction. Oats are a little more familiar to many of us with their large, often open panicles, glossy spikelets and projecting bent awns. These lawns can react to quite small changes in humidity, from straight in wet conditions to twisting significantly as they dry. Yellow oat grass, Tricetum flavescens, is the one most likely to be seen. It is a glossy yellow in colour and grows on roadsides as well as in meadows. It used to make hay as well as straw plat. Its twisted awns are a conspicuous feature which helps to identify it, as well as its narrow green leaves, although these may be brown by the end of the month. False or tall grass, Arenathium elatius, is particularly noticeable along our roads and motorway verges. The chief feature which helps to identify this grass are its height, which can be up to 2 meters, and its not quite fully open, often open glossy panicles, which often seem to fall all one way. Its leaves, which can be various shades of green, can, like the whole plant, have a slightly metallic sheen. It is bitter to taste, which is the reason given for it not being grazed. The wild oat, Avena fatua, is less common, but also found on waste ground and occasionally on arable land. It has attractive pale green spikelets, striped with a white line, and long black twisted awns that were at one time used as fish lures. The cultivated oat, Avena sativa, is worth looking for in the Epsom area, especially around the stables for obvious reasons. There are many different types, so it is hard to identify them further, but cultivated oats generally tend to have more leaves, sturdier stems, and shorter awns. Other rarer oats can also be found in chalky areas, for example the meadow oat, Helictotrichum pratense, with its blue-green leaves and bristly tips to its spikelets, or the very similar hairy oat, Helictotrichum pubescens, with its hairy socks, or rather bases to its sheath leaves. Other than annual meadowgrass and smooth meadowgrass, which have already been mentioned, there are 3 more meadowgrasses, Poa species, that might be seen this month. The most common and ubiquitous is rough meadowgrass, Poa trivialis, whose leaf sheaths are distinctly rough to touch. The flattened meadowgrass, Poa compressa, is smaller and rarer, but its flattened stems may be noticed, especially when it grows on the tops of old walls. Wood meadowgrass, Poa nemoralis, is more typically found on banks in woodland. It is more slender, delicate, and attractive than the others, which is why gardeners steal it to plant in the shadier parts of their gardens. 2 other types of grass, also regarded as decorative, may also be seen this month. These are the hair grasses, Deschampsia species, and quaking grasses, Breeza species. There are only 2 species of each to be found in our area. Tufted hairgrass, Deschampsia cespitosa, forms large tussocks on wet heaths with tall, stiff stems carrying dull purple spikelets. The other is wavy hairgrass, Deschampsia flexuosa, which also has the hair-like branches, but they are much more wavy. It prefers drier situations in woods, but can also be found on heaths, where its pinkish-purple flower heads, when in numbers, can look like mist. Quaking grasses have to be the easiest of all our grasses to recognize, due to their oval or heart-shaped spikelets, which hang down and shiver or quake in the slightest breeze. A walk on chalk downland on London's southern border is sure to reveal common quaking grass, Breeza media, announcing its presence by its trembling flowerhead. There is another larger species, great quaking grass, Breeza maxina, which is usually only ever seen in gardens or flower arrangements. 1 or 2 other grasses of note can also be seen this month. Mat grass, Narda stricta, is a grass more at home on mountains, where it can cover whole hillsides and is responsible for the yellow and brown colours we see in such landscapes. It is small, tough, and too wiry to be eaten by sheep, and can be recognized by its spikelets, which are set in 2 distinct rows, and leaves that almost bend at right angles. It can be found on Hounslow Heath. Another rarer grass, also found on the drier parts of the same heath, is heathgrass, Seidlingia decumbens. It is also small, 40 centimeters, with glossy spikelets and abrupt, blunt tips to its keeled leaves. In parks and roadsides there is yet another common attractive grass to be found, and this is the crested dog's tail, Cynosaurus cristatus. The crest involved refers to its narrow, one-sided, comb-like panicle. Being a strong, wiry grass, it is sufficiently hard-wearing to be used in seed mixtures for sports pitches and lawns, yet its leaves are also used to make straw hats. The upper side of its leaves are greyish-green, whereas underneath they are usually a darker green.